Good evening. I'd like to call to order the August 17, 2016 school committee meeting. The time now is 6:30 p.m. At this time, we'll be entering into executive session to continue discussion relative to personal matters. The school committee will reconvene in open session at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to adjourn. This requires a roll call vote. Mr. Dick, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mrs. Bennett? Aye. And the chair votes aye as well. At this time, we'll be entering into executive session and we're returning at 7 p.m. for our regular scheduled school committee meeting. Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call to order the August 17, 2016 school committee meeting. The time now is 7:08 p.m. Our first order of business is, I'm going to read the announcement. The August 17, 2016 school committee meeting will be televised and recorded under the open meeting law. The public is permitted to make an audio or video recording of an open session at a public meeting. At this time, I would ask if anyone is recording tonight's meeting to please identify himself or herself.
Hi, Alicia Whitaker from the Town Crier.
Hey, welcome. Very nice to have you this evening. Okay. So at this time, our first order of business is our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, I would like to ask everyone to join us in a moment of silence. Mrs. Evelyn McCabe, who was a beloved volunteer librarian at our school for many, many years and touched many students' lives, passed away recently. Her husband will be remembered for always being in the library and helping all the students here in the Tewksbury Public Schools. So I ask everyone to just bow for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, so as everyone knows, it is the summertime. We have no recognition this evening. We have no student representative again because of the summertime. And we actually have no presentations this evening. So the first thing I would like to review is the citizens forum. So I'd like to ask at this time, if there's anyone here this evening wishing to speak, to please identify themselves or feel free to come up to the podium. Okay, not seeing anyone this evening, and we encourage those in the community, feel free to come anytime. We'd love to have you and see you at our school committee meetings. We'll move right on to our clerk, Mrs. Bennett, who will present our meeting minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to move the approval of the July 20th, 2016 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the July 20th, 2016 regular meeting minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
Madam Chair, abstain.
Okay, so we have 4 and 1 abstention. Mr. Dick? Okay, thank you, Mr. Dick. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. This time I'd ask our clerk, Mrs. Bennett, to present our payroll.
I'd like to move the school department payroll for the period ending in July 28th, 2016 to be approved and certified in the amounts and categories as shown for a total amount of $1,083,717.36.
Second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor this evening to approve the payroll period ending July 28th, 2016. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well.
I'd also like to move the school department payroll for the period ending August 11, 2016 to be approved and certified in the amounts and categories as shown for a total amount of $1,063,893.03.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second on the floor this evening to approve the payroll period ending August 11th, 2016. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda, and everyone had an opportunity to review this, so at this time, is anyone wishing to take anything off the consent agenda this evening? Okay, not seeing anyone, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda.
I'll second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda this evening. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Malone for our superintendent and staff reports.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Couple of updates. Yesterday, we were notified by the Massachusetts Building Authority, School Building Authority, that our building committee for Trahan School was approved. And we appreciate Town Manager, Mr. Montori, for certainly helping us go down that road. Members of that committee will be Mr. Montori, myself, Assistant Superintendent Reagan, school committee members, Mr. Francis and Mr. Cutlass, Mr. Castanaway, the current principal of the Trahan Elementary School, Mr. Cook from the Finance Committee, Mr. Champa as a community member, Mr. Modica as a community member, and Ms. Stronach as the Board of Selectmen representative, and also as an added on is Ms. Daniels, who's also a Trahan Elementary School teacher. So that committee in its formation has been approved, so we're eager to continue with that process. We still remain in the eligibility process. Our next benchmark is September 9th, when our enrollment data is due in our scope around configuration. So we'll be submitting that, obviously, in a timely manner again. Town Manager, Mr. Maturity, has been a great help on that. With some of the statistical data around birth rates and building permits and housing sales that has to go into that data. So that is moving right along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Malone. I just have one thing to add. Mrs. Johnson, moving forward, now that that committee is officially formed, can you add under committee reports the new elementary building committee? And that way, school committee members as well have an opportunity to report out on that moving forward? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Malone.
Also for the committee, a update on enrollment. We're certainly in that final stage of balancing out class sizes and looking at pieces. The distribution looks very effective in certainly the elementary grade levels. As we get into middle school and high school, some of those still remain to be seen as far as class choices, but the actual class sizes certainly appear to be manageable. One piece that is certainly of interest and a very positive sign in the district is our continuing increased enrollment in full-day kindergarten, which really has created a scenario over at the Heathbrook School where our class size effective today across those 5 kindergarten classes is 25, which is a great message about the importance of kindergarten, a great message about the community participating in this effort, and we're very proud of it. It also brings us to an element of looking at those class sizes and looking at the most effective way to address those student needs. And I would certainly like to take this opportunity to present to the committee an opportunity to look at increasing by 1 staff member at the Heathbrook elementary school, specifically at the K grade level, so that we can disperse some of those 25 pupil class sizes across one other classroom, expanding from 5 to 6. We've done a lot of work with the principal. The principal's done a fantastic job. We have the space available for that. We have provisioning in mind to make sure that that works. We'll have to do a little bit of work at the school side if we increase to make sure we readdress where maybe some of the current students are assigned to make sure that balances out. But we certainly believe it's a worthy situation to look at to make sure we're providing great education to the students.
So,
Mrs. Bennett?
I just want to, I know we had talked about this previously, that we held back approving additional teacher. So after discussion, maybe I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and hire an additional teacher at the Bethel kindergarten.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Mr. Francis?
Thank you, that's basically what I was going to say. I know back in June, in one of the meetings when we added another kindergarten teacher to doing, we had talked about the possibility of this happening. And I think it's great news. I think that obviously there's more interest in all the kindergarten will be able to have with the amount of students. And I do believe probably we'll see some increase in number even as late as in the next couple of weeks. So I agree with Mrs. Bennett. I think it's tremendous. I think it's the way to go. And I support that motion.
Okay. Any other comments from my colleagues? So it sounds like we have a motion and a second on the floor. This does require a roll call vote. We are dealing with adding additional funds to fund that teacher. So I'll start with you this evening, Mr. Dick. How do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Cutlass?
Aye.
Mr. Francis?
Aye.
Mrs. Bennett?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. I think that's a wonderful thing that's happening. So thank you for your due diligence on that and the data. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Quick update on hiring. We've hired over the summertime a total of 30 staff members, 21 teachers. We continue to look, obviously, with this most recent vote. We'll continue to add and look. We'll fill the holes where needed, but we are well on our way. We always are keeping a sharp eye out for any last-minute adjustments that may be made, or staff members that make different decisions. But we've had a great opportunity here to bring on some great staff members, new staff members to the district, and we're hoping that that's going to sharply enhance our ability for quality education for students. If everyone recalls last meeting, I had the unfortunate duty to report that Camp Ahilo was not being funded, and there was some recent news that had come out of the State House, and I have the great pleasure to report now that that funding has been reinstated. And a huge thank you to Representative Selly and Senator Italian for their help on that, their support on that, and really targeting that piece that really speaks to the level of support that we provide our students, particularly our special education population, on an extended year time where they need the additional help. That's really in the spirit of Camp Ahilo and what it stands for around transitioning and other aspects of those really needy students and how we best can support them, particularly over that summer time. So this is fantastic news for the district, and a tremendous thank you to our legislators for really supporting this effort. It certainly means a lot to all of us. Just a quick notice, Assistant Superintendent Reagan is going to speak a little bit about the retreat, but I would like to let the committee know that we met today with all administrators in the Administrative Council today, and I couldn't be more pleased with the level of enthusiasm, the professional nature of these individuals and what they bring to the district. I've had a great opportunity being new to work with a lot of them individually, but not as much as a group, and this is a great team. And there's a lot to be proud of in this district as far as the administrators in this district and what they believe in, and the amount of discussion and innovation and thought today that was put into children, which is really what it's all about. And that was just impressive. And Assistant Superintendent Reagan will talk a little bit more about the details and what's also coming up with that place. It's just impressive. Just a reminder to the committee and the public that we have the Stuff the Bus fundraiser coming up on August 24th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the parking lot at 1900 Main Street, the Market Basket parking lot. Great opportunity. I've had the great opportunity to meet with North Street and doing PAC leaders, and look forward to meeting with all PAC leaders. And this is really an example of an event in this community that's really run by parents, staffed by parents, all for the benefit of our students. And it's just an important message about what this community feels education is all about. So I look forward to that event, and look forward to all the events by the PACs coming up. And just a quick element on some of the ongoing summer events, just to recap, and we'll hear a little bit more about this in the retreat, but 642 children participated in the 7-week summer program. That's a great number of kids. That's great opportunities. That's an increase from last year. There's a lot of specific elements that we'll hear about over time, but the amount of opportunity to engage students over the summertime is significant in this district, and it's a true message about what we've had. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Ray.
One moment. Mr. Francis.
Yes, Madam Chair, it might be a good idea to send a letter out from the committee from the district thanking local delegation to push that through, get the money from Cambodia, get that override passed.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Francis.
Right, as Superintendent Malone talked about, we have the first of our 3-day administrative council retreat. Our central office department heads contributed very important back-school updates to all of the principals as they ready for the new school year. Superintendent Malone led the administrative council through a spirited team-building activity. I believe it was the highlight of the day. I scratched the surface with the admin council on how we could further expand our use of Aspen as an administrative team, especially around PD, coursework, tracking licensure for our staff, using it really in the full sense at Aspen. There's many tabs on the top tab, and we're scratching the surface on how to be a more efficient administrative team. West Ed came in to speak with our K-8 administrators. They'll be back this year as part of our PD plan for school year 17. Our goal is to capitalize on the progress that they made with our K-4 co-teaching teachers as well as our 5-8 teachers around building better units and lessons to meet the needs of students. So they'll be connecting those dots again this year and sustaining that good work. Tewksbury Memorial High School Assistant Principal Jason Stamp led our administrative team through their ongoing training in using Teachment for the educator evaluation. It's nice to see this year how at ease our administrators were. They really learned a lot about the new eval system. And last year, where they were really anxious about this tool, this year we watched them fly right through it. So that was gratifying for me to see them feel much better about the whole process. We all participated in an in-depth review of our Administrative Council Summer Reading, Our Kids by Robert Putnam. The team brainstormed some ways we might begin to focus on closing that opportunity gap for students in Tewksbury Public Schools. We look forward to your feedback tomorrow when you're with us on your thoughts about the book and how it relates to our students here in town. Day 2 of the summer administrative retreat, as I said, is tomorrow. We'll focus on special education updates in the district. And in the evening, we'll be sharing our school year 2016 highlights as well as our goals for school year 2017 with you. That's a public meeting. That agenda has been posted. On day 3 of the retreat, which is this Friday, our admin team will be visited by the Department of Education for a training and presentation on social emotional learning and how it connects to service learning and civic engagement. Some of our teachers will present their garden project and how it benefits many students in the community of Tewksbury. I'll talk a little bit more on that project when we get to whole business. And through you, Ms. Chair, I'd like to thank Ms. Bennett for popping in on some of the summer PD work, especially in the area of science. As you saw, 13 of our dedicated teachers in Tewksbury participated with approximately 80 teachers around this region to build new science units towards the next generation science students. The dedication is amazing, so thank you for coming and seeing that. They felt really good that they could support it. No, I love it.
It was just wonderful to see, like you said, the Tewksbury staff being there, engaging, and honestly how excited they were about science and how much they wanted to bring back what they had learned from different districts to ours. It was heartwarming.
And another really wonderful key is they've all asked, we run some PD on this school year. We want to share with everybody. So we're pioneering those units with those teachers. They want to share with others. We look forward to seeing the results of this work move forward. So staff opening days, day 1 and 2 are Monday, August 29th, and Tuesday, August 30th. In the consent agenda, you can see that agenda for the day. It's very full of training and information. There's a long plan of events for the staff. And all of our students, of course, start on that Wednesday, August 31st.
Thank you, Mrs. Regan.
I really don't have too much. I was actually going to bring up the stuff the bus because we at the central office are kind of gathering and collecting things. We're kind of doing our own little team to bring everything down. So if anyone wants to come down to the central office, if they can't go next Wednesday, you can drop it off with us. We can get it down there for you. Usually in September, I'm going to do a whole recap presentation of last year and what we plan on doing for this year, and that's usually when Ms. Mugford, Director of Food Services, comes in and we kind of talk about that too. I do have something that's on new business. I can wait until then, or we can move it up. It's up to you. That's fine. That's about all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Matthews. Okay, we're going right into committee reports. So first up is High School Building Committee. Is there any updates?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I know that if anybody's looking, there was a lot of work done over the summer on the floors in the high school, especially in the cafeteria. And I'd like to see Mr. Malone maybe with the town manager and chairman of the building committees. Do we set a date to have a meeting just to see where we stand, what else has to be done, and try to close this project out, especially with the advent of the new elementary school building committee. I'd like to see what we can do with that. So that's my recommendation, is that we try to set the meeting and just see where we are.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francis. Mr. Cutlass, anything to add? Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful. Mrs. Bennett, the Education Foundation?
Just want to inform people, the members of the TPS are assigned to solicit donations for the 5th annual auction, which will be being held on November 18th at the Tewksbury Country Club. So please contact the TPS if you are interested in being involved in the auction. Their email address is on the Tewksbury Public School website. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Bennett. The Tewksbury Special Education PAC. Currently, right now, we're working with the Tewksbury Special Education PAC leadership team to come up with our first initial meeting. And I know that Mr. Pelletier, our Director of Student Services, is working closely with them on that. So once we have a date, we'll let everyone know. And over to you, Mrs. Bennett, Wellness Committee.
We have not met. The next meeting is scheduled for September 19th at 3:30 at the high school.
Thank you. Okay, and I think that's all we have for committee reports this evening. Moving right on to policies, I'm going to send this down to Mr. Dick from the policy committee.
Two policies tonight. This is information we're reading, and we have section 1, instruction, policy IHAMB, teaching about alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. Section J, students, policy GICH, alcohol, tobacco, drug use by students prohibited. JJF, student activity counts. So we're soliciting feedback on those policies. Contact myself, superintendent, or Madam Chair, Chrissy Palomino. And we'll be doing this next reading at the next meeting. Let's go through that feedback as well.
Thank you, Mr. Dick. Okay, moving right into old business. I guess that's going right over to you, Mrs. Regan, with the summer program and
For high school garden, okay. For the past 3-ish, maybe 4 years, you've seen Deb Mockford and Jan Ford, the teacher at high school, talk about building that vegetable garden in the back of the school lot. This year they expanded it using both the Wynn and Tewksbury High School summer recovery program students. They executed, designed, I should say, built and executed a handicap accessible addition to that garden. It's just really an amazing project that the students collaborated on while they were gaining credit recovery for courses that they needed to, or expanding the learning program so they regress over the summer. The pride and gratification all these students felt through that project was just priceless. The students also created, as you see, as part of an academic piece, this vegetable guidebook, I guess you could call it a cooking guide, a cookbook. That cooking guide will be available at the Tewksbury Food Pantry along with food from the garden. And the small donation that they get for each of these cooking guides will go back to the food pantry. So I think when you look at the comprehensive project. This is a service learning project. It's connected to that social emotional learning, contributing to a community, contributing to the needs of others, but using their academic skills to plan, build, execute, and then write. I mean, we can't ask for better learning for our students. So we're really proud of this work and have Ms. Janet Gordon, Cindy Bastieri, as well as all the summer program teachers who, if you see us a little bit on Friday, if you want to pop in on the service learning presentation they have, you'll see just the kind of work that these teachers are doing around this project. So we're very proud of them and very thankful that they continue to give our students this experience.
I think it's great. I'm looking forward to trying out some of the recipes.
You know, and that was the idea of the students, because some of the students said, hey, I don't know what kale is. Well, how do you use kale? I don't know how to use fill in the blank. I've never eaten that before. What would people do with that? So this became really out of need for them to be connected to the project in a different way. And they thought that if they didn't know, maybe other people won't know how to use those vegetables. We should teach them.
That's right. It's a great program.
Any other comments? Okay, we took care of the enrollment. Was there anything you wanted to add to the enrollment? I think that was with the new kindergarten teacher.
Right.
Okay, so,
Can
yes, Mrs. Bennett.
Mr. Malone, I just had a question in May. Dr. O'Connor brought up there's 4 students that were potentially looking at wanting to continue with the active kindergarten. Have we heard from those 4 students, or is everybody now going for the 4K?
I was aware of that same, I'm at the same information point you are. There was a couple out there, and I think the idea also was concept of accommodate that need, but we were hoping that students, once they experience the classroom and parents are familiar with it and comfortable with it, they push that element to a full day opportunity. But I'll do a little bit more research into that and see if those are specified. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Bennett. I actually think that's pretty great that only 4 students, when you think about it, in the realm of everyone in kindergarten, there's only 4. And my hope too is that once they see everybody else and one of the things are going on, maybe they will change, and at any point they can kind of go into that full day program. But we do have to accommodate everyone, so that's wonderful. So we're going right over to kindergarten orientation.
Well, with the onset of the full day kindergarten program, we were faced with just a little bit of a conundrum. How do we now accept all of the students and all of their parents and all of those additional vehicles on day 1 of school starting into our school? So we planned in the spring with the 2 principals to have something prior to school starting so that all parents and students can we could actually accommodate them in our parking lot and within our school to have an orientation. So as you can see, both schools have planned before day 1 school orientation for all of our students and their respective families, because we know in tow with that one kindergartner is probably mom, dad, granny, auntie, everybody. It's a very big day for kindergartners. So while the dates are different, you can see that the Heathbrook planned it with their pack the Thursday before school starts, and the Dewing planned it the day before school starts. The program and the goal is really the same. Students and their parents will have the opportunity to meet their principal and have an orientation with the principal, see their classroom, meet some of their kindergarten peers, step on and off the bus, maybe take a little drive around the parking lot. They're going to go through the cafeteria lunch line and get a snack, easing that anxiety, because we realize new students don't often access the cafeteria, they're nervous. And then finally play on the playground with many of their school peers. This is just as useful for the parents as it is for the student, because the real goal is that we alleviate the parent stress so that on that next day or the following Wednesday, day 1, they feel safe putting that student on the bus, sending them to us to really participate in that major milestone first day of school. So we ask that parents come. We really want them at this orientation. It's really helpful to, as I said, ease their own anxieties and feel really good about the place that their child will call home for 3 years.
Thank you, Mrs. Regan. Moving right along into new business. First item, the assessment.
Yes. So in the packet, you'll see that Desi has, you know, we had the testing schedule dates, which appear to maybe be a little bit of a moving target, so I'm going to reserve printing who takes what test when, because there is now a memo out from the Commissioner's office. They may adjust that timeline. But along with that memo came the timeline around assessment and accountability, data review and release schedule. These dates, you know, I assume maybe a couple of them may change slightly. But posted now, what we know is the discrepancy reporting date, that window is closed. All of our principals and students that participated in statewide testing have filled in any discrepancies that may have occurred. For example, was somebody not on the list that they knew tested or vice versa? In late August, we expect to get some preliminary accountability data for our districts and schools. What I think 2 dates to really be aware of is the plan is an official embargoed Park and MCAS student rosters will be delivered to the schools. And then on the 23rd, embargoed, meaning our data to really, preliminary data to look at, will come to the schools, superintendents and principals. And then the goal is by September 27th, this district DESI will release those records to the public, and then our report card will be available in October. So it's a little bit away. We hope, you know, with the advent of online testing, for some, these dates are a little bit shorter than the window of time before. We're still into the fall before we can really talk about 2016 MCAS and Park Day.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns with the timeline? Okay. Next up is reorganization of the business office.
You don't have anything in your packets for this, because really it's more of a conversation. As you may or may not have heard, Lisa Marquette, who is our payroll coordinator, is leaving us. Her last day will be this Friday. So what we did is we sat down and we kind of reassessed the whole entire business office to see if there was something we do, if we had to completely replace her position, or if we could kind of redistribute. So after sitting with Mr. Libby and Mr. Malone, we kind of went through everything, and we're taking Lisa's role and we're changing up a lot of the roles in the department. So we have somebody that is going to be doing strictly payroll. Our AP coordinator, there was a portion that Lisa was doing. She was doing like some revolving in grants. The AP coordinator is going to be doing 100% of them. There is different pieces of her job that are now going to human resources. And it's just getting redistributed out so we do not have to replace that position. It's something that we've been talking about for the past couple of years. I've talked to the town manager about it. He was very happy to hear that we're kind of saving the funds in that position. We are also looking to, we changed some roles. One of our technology coordinators, he is now going to be a digital learning specialist for the district. So he's going to be helping out. Brenda can probably talk about a little bit about what Cameron's role is going to be.
You met Cameron Carey here, and he serviced our teachers and our students as well as the network administrative department for some time. He's quite talented. So he will serve the half role of that assistive technology specialist for students needing assistive devices in special ed, as well as serve to help support our teachers and students in using instructional technologies in the class. So those two roles together created what's called the digital learning specialist, which is what Cameron will now do for us. So he'll handle in the instructional technology piece all of our student and staff subscriptions, Think Central, Mastery Connect, those types of subscriptions. Help supporting teachers and students know how to use them. Help support teachers utilizing the responders, the smart boards better, things like that that are in their class so that they can use them in the instructional piece with students. And Susie Muse, who is our data specialist in the district, will also continue to support teachers in all of those online user IDs, logins, and better access to how to use Aspen better. So they both will serve in not totally different roles, but how they support teachers and students better as opposed to being separated out into the central office. So look forward to how that's going to expand our teachers' understanding of those schools.
Mrs. Bennett?
I was just going to ask a quick question on currently their role. How much time do they actually spend in the schools? Where it sounds like, especially Ms. Hughes, maybe spending more time in the schools.
I'm glad that you brought that up because once the dust settles in the fall, all the students are enrolled in these subscriptions, let's say, and the teachers, and things are moving. We really need Cameron, especially, to be in the classrooms of our teachers who are really most masterfully using that instructional technology. So he has to understand the life of the class, the life of the teacher, the life of the student using it. So that's going to take a little bit of time. And that way he can really identify, how do I support more use of this? Or get those questions. The nice thing is he has a connection with the tech department to know how to take that information and make it work with stuff, with hardware. Susie, the same thing. She's going to establish a schedule where she's in the schools helping teachers utilize Gradebook better, utilize the portal piece. One of our goals you'll hear about tomorrow night is the parent portal. How do we take, a family with 3 students looking at 3, mom and dad looking at 3 different accounts, mom and dad open one. So those are the types of supports we hope Susie is going to bring. And she will need to be in school then to support teachers use those tools. I don't know the amount, but I do know she will set a schedule out in the schools and be very well aware when she's there.
Just a quick comment on the process. I mean, this started from an element with a resignation of a key role that evolved into Ms. Matthews and Ms. Reed taking a productive and strategic approach to actually improve the efficiency of running the office, reestablishing job roles, meeting with people individually, going over their tasks, redefining what those would be, and finding opportunities to enhance instruction at the same time. So I think hats off to both of them in that process, because that's resulting from a loss of a position, which at times in those key roles can be crippling, and really turn it around to re-looking at a positive way in a cost-saving measure to accomplish those goals. Definitely hats off to both of them.
Thank you. You're also providing other opportunities for employment growth, right, for employees to grow, so that's wonderful too. So my quick question would be, it's a cost savings, where is that money rolling back in? Is it just going to stay? Obviously, we have new hires and we're doing some other things, but where is that salary going now?
You just burned in and you're too
Okay, so that's okay.
That's going,
I just wanted to make sure the public was aware of that. So that's actually hats off again, being able to utilize the resources and again, reshuffle. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Nice job. Okay, next up, we have the Massachusetts Association of School Committee voting delegates. So for those people watching this evening, what it is each year, this school committee has been committed to saving money and only sending 2 school committee members to the conference in the hope that those 2 individuals come back and share the information that they learned with the rest of the committee. And we've always done that. And so this year, for those people that don't know, Mrs. Bennett and myself will be attending the conference down the Cape. And so what this is that there's a delegate, which means one individual, either myself or Mrs. Bennett, would sit and represent the Tewksbury district and vote for, as every district will get the opportunity to vote on legislative issues that come up during that meeting. So you're really just representing and you're a voice for the town of Tewksbury. So with that being said, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'd like to vote in Chrissy Palomino as being our delegate during the Massachusetts Association of School Committee in Hyannis in November.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion, I have a second on the floor to nominate Chrissy Palomino to be the delegate representing Tewksbury at the joint conference scheduled for Wednesday, November 2nd in the conference center in Hyannis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair will vote aye as well. Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. I think we're going to learn a lot of great things and be able to bring those back to the district. And I believe Mr. Malone is attending as well.
Yes, sir.
So I think that would be a great opportunity for Tewksbury. We always seem to bring back a lot of great things and changes in how we can do things here in Tewksbury. Okay, moving right along to the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Superintendent Checklist.
Just a quick overview of the online checklist that's available to all superintendents and districts. This is mine. You can find it on my desk. It tends to be wrinkled and written on and has ink all over it, but that's because we use it. So it's a great tool. It has due dates and reports and other pieces that are done in time sequence. So it's a fairly easy document to follow. It does require, for instance, Ms. Regan's presentation on some of the MCAS data. They'll give you general guidelines on here on when you can expect that, but you have to sometimes dive into where those specific deadlines will be year to year and where they're coming up. It has a lot of additional information that apply with the charter schools, some vocational schools, but it is a terrific tool to keep us moving and thoughtful and strategic about some of those elements that we're doing and when those reports are due. So it's a great tool.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, concerns? I think it's an excellent tool, and thank you for sharing that with us, Mr. Malone, because it really shows us how much you truly do for the day and you need to accomplish, so thank you for sharing that. Next up is the 2016-2017 calendar and open house schedule.
The good news is the calendar is published up on our website, as well as the key dates for open houses, which you can see on the very back of the calendar, are all not only published in a colorful version that all parents and students will see and receive, but also on the district-wide dynamic calendar. So we welcome all parents to please come to open house. Lots of very, very, very important information is disseminated at that open house in regards to the whole school year, and it's a wonderful opportunity for all to meet the teacher.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I guess I'd like to just say a few things that I think is great, and I think we get a lot of questions. One being, it's so great that we have the calendar for the entire year with so much detail, so I do encourage everyone to go on the website, make sure you look through it. We always get questions on vacation, and here we go. And a nice change this year that I noticed is sometimes we only have a half day before April vacation, and this year we actually have a full day off for families. So I know in light of flights and things like that, when people always ask, there's a great opportunity in April vacation for families. And the other question that we've been asked many times, we really believe in Tewksbury that professional development for our staff is so important. Mr. Malone, I know, brings a breath of fresh air. Mrs. Regan has been committed to it, but people always ask the question, why are they so spread out? So I think it's a great opportunity just to let everyone know is when you do professional development, then you need to evaluate how it's going and then make changes and do new professional development. So if you look really at the calendar, and this comes up every year, they're really spread out throughout the entire year. There's almost one per month with the exception of a few months. And it's really a credit to Mrs. Regan for professional development, how she really values that making sure the teachers are getting the most out of the professional development with this district support. So hats off to Mrs. Regan. I know that question comes up and they say, how come this sporadically and why are they at different times? It really is strategically planned. It's really for the full benefit of our staff. So hats off to you, Mrs. Regan, on that, because I know that question comes up. But this is a great calendar. I don't know if anyone had any questions. I think it has everybody's information and contact information. I thought it was actually terrific.
Thank you to Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah, special shout out to Mrs. Johnson for doing such a great job on this document. Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Okay, so would we like to vote it in this evening? Does anyone have any questions or concerns with the calendar? Okay, especially since it's already online. I know that's brilliant. It would be nice to get an official vote. So would someone like to make a motion? And there were no changes? Okay. Okay, so then I guess we're all set. It's up live and going, so everybody go and look at it. Terrific calendar for the 2016-2017 school year. Okay, next up, I'll turn over the establishment of a reserve fund.
Also, this is a unique situation where we're responding to a new Massachusetts general law that actually Tewksbury had the forethought to actually go down this road previously. So we actually now are in a situation where a law has responded to a very positive action by the town working with the school district to develop reserve monies for unintended costs towards special education, which had already been established, and now it's part of Massachusetts general law. So Ms. Matthews will talk a little bit more specifically about it, but what it really is under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E, the establishment of an unanticipated, unbudgeted cost of special education out-of-district tuition and transportation budget that will sit there for the community in the school district in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen, available to utilize in those situations in the establishment of that. We already had a fund already put aside to address that. Now it is actually guided by general law, and Ms. Matthews can talk a little bit about what the amount was and what the process will be to move the money into that newly established fund.
Well, as the committee and the community probably will remember, back in May of 2015, there was a warrant article to move $725,000 from the stabilization fund into a reserve fund that was controlled partially by the town and finance committee. That in the event that the school district exhausted all their funds for out-of-district tuition or transportation, we could go to that fund with the approval of the finance committee and utilize it in any way we needed to. So, as Mr. Malone has said, the state has now, I don't know if they adopted our plan, but they kind of went and made a mass general law saying the same exact thing. So what we have to do is we need to vote to adopt the Chapter 40, Section 13E, and that basically says that the school committee can vote to adopt a fund and create a reserve fund that you can put a certain amount of money in, and that will be controlled by the school committee and voted by the school committee and selectmen. And we can use it for out-of-district tuition or transportation. And it just cannot exceed 2% of our annual net school spending. And any interest that may be earned on it can stay within the fund. And there's no limitations, there's no dates that it has to be used by, it can just sit in the fund. So we're looking for 2 votes tonight. We're looking for the school committee to vote to, the recommendation for the school committee to establish the reserve fund as stated in Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E. And then we're going to ask to vote for the town manager to create a warrant article to transfer the $725,000 that we have in the fund that was already set up into this newly Mass General Law fund.
Thank you, Mrs. Matthews, for that explanation. Can you just tell the community, just as a refresher, that we have that money in there and that the great news was we didn't have to touch it, but can you just kind of refresh everyone on that?
Sure. When we set up that account, we were kind of in the hopes that we would never have to use it, but it was kind of a contingency plan if we ever needed it. But we did, with our circuit breaker funds and our fantastic director of special education and working together and trying to work out funds, we never did tap into any of those funds.
Wonderful. So at this time, first off, I would like to thank our town manager, Mr. Richard Montori, our board of selectmen, the finance committee, for working with us on this creative solution. And it looks like it's actually going to be a great thing for a lot of districts. We really appreciate that collaboration in helping us. When we did foresee it as a potential problem, and glad to report to today that we never had to use those funds, and it was great to set it up in case of a rainy day, but you did an excellent job managing the money, and we did not have to actually tap into that money, so that was great. I also want to do a special thank you for the community, because it's not just us that come up with these creative ideas, it's our community out there in Tewksbury that comes to town meeting and votes and supports us of great initiatives like that. So I just want to say those 2 things before we go into both these votes. And I'd like to open it up to see, did anyone have any questions for Mrs. Matthews this evening? I know this is all new information. We just received it. We're kind of going through some of the documents. I think there's a lengthy document that we're all going to continue to look at. But does anyone have any questions before we take either one of these 2 votes this evening? Okay, not seeing anyone, do I have someone make a motion on the first one, to establish a reserve fund? Yes.
I'll make the motion to, you want me to take them one at a time?
Yes, please.
I'll make the motion to establish a reserve fund as stated in the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E.
Second.
So I have a motion, I have a second on the floor, that the Tewksbury School District, along with the Tewksbury School Committee, will establish a reserve fund as stated in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E. All those in favor? Any opposed?
I think this should cause a roll call.
This doesn't have money, the next one has money. Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well, so that's a unanimous vote. The next one, as far as the transfer of the funds, will require a roll call vote. Do I have somebody that would make a motion?
I'll make that motion as well.
Second.
So I have a,
I'll make the motion that we, the school committee, to approve the article to be drafted by the town manager for a special town meeting in October 2016 to transfer $725,000 for Article 15 annual town meeting 2015 to the new reserve funds established under the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13E.
I'll second that motion.
so I have a motion, I have a second on the floor, to approve an article to be drafted by our town manager, Mr. Richard Montori, for the special town meeting in October 2016 to transfer $725,000 from Article 15 at our annual town meeting in 2015 to the new reserve fund established under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 13. This does require a roll call vote. Mr. Dick, how do you vote? Mr. Cutlass, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Francis, how do you vote? Mrs. Bennett, how do you vote?
Aye.
The chair votes aye as well. Thank you. Okay, moving right along, school committee matters of interest. We'll start with you this evening, Mrs. Bennett.
And nothing additional, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. Mr. Francis?
Yeah, but I just have one thing tonight. I was fortunate enough a week ago, Monday, to participate in the first annual Best Buddies Golf Tournament at Hillview Country Club in North Reading. It was a great success. There were many of our staff, coaches there also participating. Forsen didn't do too well in playing. However, it was a great time and raised a lot of money for just a tremendous group of kids, the Best Buddies. And my hats go off to Brian Elwood for setting the whole thing up with his staff and his crew. Because to set up a golf tournament, especially the first year you do it, is very hard. But it was a great day for everybody, and it couldn't have been for a better cause.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Francis. Mr. Cutlass?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Dick? Okay, and then I guess on behalf of the whole school committee, we'd like to welcome back all of our families. I know there's still a couple weeks left of summer vacation, but we'd like to welcome everyone back to the new school year, because our next meeting will be after that, and we hope everyone has a wonderful first day and enjoy the rest of your summer. Future agenda items. The only thing that I would like to add for future agenda items, and it's no rush on this, it could be come November or late October after we settle in, is I'd love to bring the legislators in again and have like a meeting with the school committee members and the administration staff and give us an opportunity to really talk about some of the things that are out there. We've typically brought them in, maybe with some refreshments, and had a real sit down at a conveniently mutually agreed upon time between all parties. That would be great. Does anyone else have any future agenda items they would like to add? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
So I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Have a wonderful rest of the summer. We'll see everyone back here in September. Thank you.